Hello and welcome to Communicate with Power. This is our new podcast. I'm Barry McLaughlin, and I'm joined today again by
Laura Peck.
and we are co-hosting this, as we probably will do for most of our podcast episodes. And the point of this is to have some fun, but also to touch on some really important communications related issues in the world, in Canada, in the United States, and elsewhere. Laura, we've had a very busy summer, as it turned out, with some highlights and lowlights. But maybe we'll start off. By the way, I should say that sound you just heard in our backyard is our dog named Teddy. And Teddy pretty well makes his presence known if somebody dares to walk down the street or a squirrel were to run across that fence. So we'll just have to kind of excuse him in advance, as he has ways of letting you know he's around. So that's Teddy. He's 5 years old and still learning some very key behavioral lessons in life. All right. So, Laura, highlights of this summer. What would you say were one or two of those?
Well, I'm from Cape Breton, so for me, going to Cape Breton was a highlight. We go there every summer, and we teach MBA at the university, and so it's great because I feel like I'm giving back to the place that I'm from, but also we have a great and good number of students that come from different parts of the world, and so we do a hybrid course. Some are in the classroom, and some are virtually communicating with us. So we teach them the fundamentals of communication in business, how to pitch, how to raise money for your product, how to attract people to your product that you want to put on the market. And the good thing about it is we're still in pretty good contact with a lot of those students and grads over the year. And then we did a new course this year. We had over 118 people registered in that course. And again, it was hybrid. And it was all about misinformation and how to deal with risk and crisis in times of
Yeah, the
uncertainty.
actual, exactly. So the title of that, because it may well come up again, we're hoping it'll be several times a year, called Getting a Message Across in an Age of Uncertainty. So that really was a 1 day, 7.5 hour hybrid seminar. And you know what? It was a lot of fun, and it was very interactive. I must say, at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University, they have these wonderfully specially designed hybrid classrooms. So you got the students in the class in front of you, which I always like, as well as from across Canada and the United States. So that was really great to do that, and we're hoping to do a lot more of it. But really, it brings up the whole topic of uncertainty, which is part of what we're going to get into here today.
Absolutely. And Barry, you just recently returned from the United States. I didn't go. Tell us about your trip
Well,
and how it.
yeah, I think the major thing I want to say about that, it's the first time I crossed over into the United States since I think it was May of 2024, so about 15 months. And it was very interesting and somewhat sad, in terms of just that aspect of it. We drove down. My daughter and I drove down to the United States. I think we crossed around 8:30 on a Friday night. Now, a beautiful summer weekend in late August. There we were crossing the border, and guess what? We were the only car crossing the border. So we all remember the long lineups you would have at about that time of the evening. The sun was just setting, maybe it just set, but there wasn't one. And I could only see, once we crossed over through the rear view mirror, I could see one car approaching. That was it.
Yeah, and even when we've been in the airport the last 15 months, sometimes there wouldn't be one person at the U.S. departures. Now, luckily, we had business within Canada. We used to go to the U.S. all the time, but now with the tariff situation, that has sort of stopped our enthusiasm for going. And so, Barry, what do you think about the situation with
Well,
the United
the
States?
tariffs is one thing, but I think what's really alien, I think that's the verb you got to use, what has alienated Canadians is a lot more than that. It's not just about money, it's about values. It's about the values of how ICE, we see the videos of how they capture people, many of them innocent, quite a number of them American citizens, some of them just kids being hauled out of classrooms, and it's very, very sad, totally counter to the culture of the United States of America, which we love. So that is a very common concern of Canadians. And of course, not, power of social media, we see, of course, the videos of people being harassed at the border. And, that's just not on. And Canadians say, you know what? If you don't want us, we won't be there. I'm going to say one other thing that I think is a more positive thing, and that is that we're just talking to your ordinary hardworking Americans working in a little diner. We went to a diner on a Friday night in Watertown, New York, and it was sad. A handful of people. We were the only Canadians, of course, there, and I actually felt sorry for the bar staff. I felt sorry for the wait staff. I felt that this is hurting them, and same with the hotels, just half empty. These used to be bustling places on the weekend. We drove on, of course, down into New Jersey, same thing down there. And I began to question, quite honestly, tell me again why we are boycotting the United States as travelers. Certainly, I understand the fear factor of crossing the border, but really, in reality, I think we have to perhaps revisit that over time.
Do you
Uh,
think Canada should change the strategy or stick with
it's funny.
what?
It's not a Canadian strategy. In fact, the flights that are going to Washington are filled with politicians and bureaucrats. So, uh, no, it's not that. It's the way Canadians have taken hold of this. You can't tell Canadians what they should feel. They just feel this way. Americans everywhere we went, in New York State and New Jersey, were so the moment they heard we were Canadian, just very, very immediately apologetic. We apologized. I actually felt very badly for them because this was not, of course, of their doing. They want Canadians down there. They're being hurt very badly. Went into a grocery store. It was a grocery store. It was kind of one of those mixed stores, and really, it was half empty. And they told me there a lot of Canadians normally come here. Very sad. So jobs are being lost. Money is, keeping food on the table for their families. I feel on a genuinely personal level very badly about that. It's not their fault, and we shouldn't treat it as if it is their fault. This is a this is a politician issue. This is, I'd love to do commercials. I'd love to have our premiers from every province of Canada speak directly to their local TV channels, local radio stations, and of course social media, to speak directly to the people in those states, and to ask them this simple question: Why have your elected officials abandoned you?
Well, Premier Doug Ford,
Yeah,
he
he's
has
an exception.
spoken. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an exception. That thing today where he was, or yesterday, he was pouring out Crown Royal because they actually distill Crown Royal in Canada, but it's bottled now. They're closing the bottling plant. It's going to be bottled in the United States. He's furious at this. So, and he poured it all out. It was his own bottle. Poured it all out in front of the cameras. A little bit dramatic. A little, the anger is there. You notice Mark Carney's style is not to do that. You're never going to see Mark Carney do that. He is taking a very cool, low key approach. Not a lot of sound bites. He is working hard at the economic shift of gears that madly happening across the country to create new export markets instead of the United States. It's going to take several years to make that kind of impact, but he's working very hard at that. So I think that's the realistic. I mean, he's a former banker. I mean, that's the realistic way of dealing with this. If you don't want our products, we will ship them elsewhere. Thank you very much. That's
Barry,
his
do you
approach.
think it's harder to get your message out today?
Oh yeah, I mean we're filled with misinformation, with disinformation. We're filled with deep fake videos and all kinds of things that create huge barriers. They create certainly divisions between people, echo chambers. People actually believe a lot of things they see in social media and digital media that is absolutely not true, but they believe it. Of course, I'm always wondering what happened to their belief system that they're so liable to accept things that a little bit of research would pretty well clear up that didn't happen. If you watch that video, now they're so expert at these deep fake videos and so on. I can't blame them for not being experts in that, but to not really do a little bit of homework and find out that is not happening. That was not said, and we need to kind of We have to operate on a common basis of truth and understanding, and we're really not there. And I worry that this has been going on for a long, long time. And I feel that the best one I was at Harvard at a reunion. I shouldn't bring that name up in several parts. I'm on a crimson strength or crimson proud organization trying to ensure that Harvard doesn't roll over and play dead when it comes to all these threats, and to ensure that Harvard speaks up for academic freedom and so on. But slight digression. But one thing that they played for us was a study done of Fox News viewers at the time. This is George W. Bush's presidency. Fox TV viewers versus CNN viewers. The Fox TV viewers overwhelmingly thought America was winning the Iraq War. Absolutely. And of course, the CNN viewers overwhelmingly, we were losing the war. So those echo chambers were way back. They weren't just created in Donald Trump land. They have been around and growing. So that concerns me. And that's actually why our course we're running at Cape Breton University on getting your message across. It's getting through those barriers to be able to get people to listen when they all say, there's nothing so deaf as somebody who refuses to hear. And I don't know if that's the exact quote, but that really is the essence. I don't want to hear it. Have you ever people say that to you? I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about that. And so they shut their ears. They don't want to hear. And then, I don't have a conversation here that in any way is going to change any mind. So we have a lot of work to do as a society, as a culture, not just America. People always point their fingers at America. We're kind of deeply into that type of thing too. And I think there's a lot of denial in Canada. There's a lot of this kind of division. And I think maybe we're a little more, quote, polite about it, but it's there. And it does concern me to a great extent.
So we're going to do another course October 8, 9,
10. Yep.
something like that,
Yeah, 8th,
yeah,
9th, and 10th. Yeah.
for Ottawa U professional, no, for the integrity.
Well, actually, it's a great one. It's in partnership with the Integrity Lab,
Yeah,
Information Integrity Lab at Ottawa
we're
U.
going to do it with Jennifer Irish.
Right,
She's
and
the
it's
director.
right, and this is being ultimately put on by the Professional Development Institute at Ottawa U, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, and that one is actually called Risk and Crisis Communications in an Age of Disinformation. And boy, Jennifer Irish and her team there at the Information Integrity Lab are true experts in all things disinformation.
They've
So,
done all the hard
yeah,
numbers and data
yeah,
and all that, the deep research.
yeah. We
For
will
our
we will
part,
post on this
we
if
will.
anybody wants to attend. That is in person. This is not a virtual one, but
Yeah.
we'd love to get some more people in there. So this is the world we're in, and trying to make sense of it as a communicator, as a communications trainer. It's become kind of a lifelong challenge, and it's one that you can never claim you can't declare victory over it. You have to keep working at it and making progress.
So we really didn't stop working this summer. And already we've done seminars in how to appear before a committee. That turned out to be really good, also, I
Yeah,
got to say. That was totally virtual,
yeah.
and that was at the Canada School. And
Canada School of
again,
Public Service. Yeah, and
they do a great job.
yeah, and appearance before parliamentary committees. It's actually again getting your message across. It is not ignoring questions. It is being responsive to questions. Are you well prepared for a parliamentary committee? That's it's sort of the tip of the iceberg. 90% of it is below the surface. All of your preparation, and a lot of people they get into this totally reactive mode. Just ask me a question, give you an answer. But really, if you walk in there without a message of your own, then you're just reacting all the way through. And you'll often walk out of there very frustrated that you actually didn't get a coherent message across because their goal isn't to have you do coherent messages. Many times you're getting attacks. Although I do think that's a little overstated. A lot of parliamentarians of any party do want clear answers to clear questions, and you should give it to them. So it's building the confidence to do it, building the skill sets to do it, building the strategies to do that. So that's when we run directly as a company, uh, TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. We do that directly for organizations, public, private, nonprofit sectors, as well as through the Canada School of Public Service. So in both ways, and we've been doing that for quite a few years, and very much enjoy it, as Laura mentioned. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And also, since our last podcast, we did have some constructive feedback. Somebody had said, Abby had said, that we have to look at the little dot up there.
We
So,
knew that.
well, we knew that, but we were sort of
Didn't
looking
always
at one
practice it.
another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
I don't look
So
at Laura anymore, and I think it just works so much better. No, we're just staring at that lens.
anyway, so we are experimenting with this, and we hope that you'll join us on this little venture that we're in to do a podcast on Substack. Also, we had a
Yeah, I've
question.
got it here.
Yeah, we
This
had a
this is from
question,
Nancy, and
Nancy.
it's really about Mark Carney
Yeah.
and the elbows up thing. People are getting very tired of it. She made it pretty clear that she's not a huge fan of his. Is he really getting? Is he really achieving what he claims he's achieving? Is he not disappointing a lot of people? To that, the essence of what she asked. So these are questions, of course, Canadians do ask. Um, I think he is on an extended honeymoon. This is my take on it. I'd love to hear yours. I think Mark Carney's on an extended honeymoon to a great extent. What have you actually accomplished? Well, in a few months, what is 180 days? I think he's pretty well getting near the half year mark since becoming prime minister. He moved quickly on like legislation, Bill C5, and a number of them that are trying to really shift gears on the economy to make Canada far more not only of an export nation but far more to other markets that traditionally we have ignored because 85% of our exports go to the United States of America. And this has to change. It has to change because they're being tariffed out, they're being priced out of the market because a certain president of the United States has decided that he fell in love with tariffs, and it's boosting temporarily the External Revenue Agency, whatever they're calling that in the United States, the trillions of dollars he's boasting about. How much of that is true, we all rarely get to know that. But of course, the real people paying for that, as many Americans are only now starting to realize, is actually not Canadians. Ultimately, who's paying for that are the American consumers. They're paying for it. About 90% of those are going to be paid by the consumers, whether it's aluminum, steel, autos, or you name it. They're going to be paying the bulk of it. And the importers try to swallow a certain amount to stay as competitive as they can. But overwhelmingly, they do have to pass on their cost to their customers or they'll be out of business. So that's the reality of it. I haven't heard one Wharton economics professor ever say anything except the tariffs are paid for by the customer, and you can't invent economics. That's the reality of it. So that's one of the challenges there. But just coming back to Mark Carney, I think actually, in fairness to him, he has kept the confidence to a great extent of Canadians. Uh, he has really done I think, a pretty solid job of staying true to the vision he has with regard to the economy. He's shortened right down the regulatory hearings and processes, whether it's environmental, indigenous, and others, to condense them down to go simultaneously. We don't need to have 10 years worth of agonizing, wondering what we're going to do. It can be done in a 2 year time period. He's putting that into place, and I think we're going to start seeing some changes, whether they're LNG pipelines, whether they're some very major infrastructure investments right across the economy. So I think we're already starting to see that. And so people are giving him a chance. The one thing I hear, and we heard it in Nova Scotia when we were down this summer, people keep saying, not about elbows up, which is kind of, I'm sure he doesn't want to have that ever mentioned to him again. It's just overplayed. But I think really they say, he is the adult in the room. I hear that overwhelmingly. And he is, to a great extent, the adult in the room. And he's a cool customer. He doesn't overreact usually, and he is somebody that is if he's not a natural leader, he's learned to be a very good leader. So they quickly get on board his style. He wants you to come to a meeting on time and be prepared. If you're not, then that'll probably be the one time you'll get to do that, and it won't be happening again. He's made that extremely clear, apparently. Um, and we happen to know him, but it's not really, we're not hanging around with him. We just happen to know him over the years. I knew him first as governor of the Bank of Canada, and found him to be a very approachable and very reasonable person. And I think he's somebody that Canadians are gradually getting to know. He's not somebody that sort of is in your face. Justin Trudeau was there. Justin Trudeau was hot. You know, he was wow. He came out like a comet.
Well, he was born. It's a
Yeah,
totally different
yeah.
dynastic kind
And that's
of.
pretty well what it was.
It's very different
Yeah,
to be the son of Pierre Elliott Trudeau
yeah,
than Mark Carney, who was born in Fort Smith and grew
yeah,
up outside of Edmonton,
yeah.
and then he was a boy wonder in hockey in school, and actually he has been an amazing executive over the last several decades. He steered the economy when he was Bank of Canada, and I am
And
reiterating
the
what
Brexit years at the Bank of
exactly,
England. Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
I was interviewed about this the other day, and I still genuinely feel that he is a great prime minister right now
Well,
in order to stick handle this
yeah,
deal with what's happening in the United States. Because how do you deal with somebody, when they're bullying us, they're trying to bully
yeah,
us and bully their own people.
yeah.
So I think he's got a steady hand on the tiller, as well as he seems to be enjoying the ground game that he had when he was campaigning, and now as prime minister, he seems to like to get out to meet people. He has 4 young adults in his household, and he has a spouse who has her opinions also. And so he hears on pretty much a daily basis what other people think. They're in his face, and they're educated about these kinds of issues.
No,
So I do think that he's doing a good job.
well, Laura, if you're going to be on this podcast, you just have to be a lot more critical of people because all podcasts criticize people. They don't just like
Well,
them.
that wouldn't be me.
So, yeah, yeah. You know,
I'm
I think, look at, let's put it this way. The jury ultimately is out. People, you know, you usually get a year or two before they start forming hard opinions. And
yeah,
let's come back to that at some point to see, is that still in place? You know,
yeah.
obviously I'm somebody that really does respect him. And I think that's a good difference. I don't think he necessarily wants to be liked by everybody. I don't think he can kind of tell he doesn't crave to be liked, but he does want to be respected. And you earn respect. You don't just declare it. And he is earning respect, which I think is the right way to think about this. So
It's a hard job.
yeah,
Today I go to yoga on the Hill, and I used to work on the Hill a long time ago. And when I think about the different politicians that have walked through those halls, it's a really hard job. You really put yourself, your family, your friends on the line when you get into public life. So, I do think that regardless of what political party you're with, it's a hard job.
yeah, and the NDP is learning that trying to get a leader is going to be a hard job too. We'll see. We'll visit that another time just to see is there any life left in the NDP party. That's certainly one thing that's on my kind of horizon to comment on. The Conservatives, the Parliament's coming back on the 15th. I guess my question to you, first of all, Laura, I'll try to take a cut at it after, is what does Pierre Poilievre need to do differently, if anything, in this session of Parliament? He got reelected in the summer, but he finally got reelected, say, after losing his seat here in Ottawa. He lost his seat and won a safe seat out in Alberta. And I guess the question is, should he do anything different? If so, what should it be when Parliament resumes around
Well,
September 15th?
congratulations to him for winning a seat. And this is going to make life more difficult for him personally, because he's got to go a far distance just to respond to his
Oh, you think he's going to go
constituents.
there every weekend? Maybe he will.
Well, you have to. I mean, even Prime Minister Carney has people are saying, why doesn't he have an office in Nepean?
But he still doesn't have
He
one.
still doesn't have one. So my point
Well,
is that
not perfect then, obviously.
well, nobody is,
Oh,
nobody
excuse
is.
me. I thought
But
that.
I
Yeah.
do think that I do not like negativity. I don't
Oh,
like
Laura,
it.
then you won't like politics. If you don't like negativity, it basks in negativity.
Well, there's
That's
another reason. As I said to my friend at yoga today, I got partisan politics out of my system
you
a
did.
long
That's
time
true.
ago, and she knew
I
me
noticed that.
back when.
Yeah.
I can sort of keep my friends over the
Yeah.
years, and I'm not that partisan, but
I
I don't
yeah.
like that. take all.
Mindless
I
partisanship.
don't.
Yeah.
I
I don't like
yeah.
educated
I like being
partisanship.
positive.
Yeah.
I like being
Okay.
able to develop policy in
Yeah.
a positive, productive way.
Well, I don't feel much of a future in politics, or now that you
I
say
don't.
that. Yeah. I'll just make a couple of comments about Pierre Poilievre. I mean, I do know Pierre Poilievre personally. I haven't talked to him in quite a few years, actually. But I will say that let's hope he learns some lessons for his own sake. He'll say, well, we were 1.5 percentage points below. What are you talking about? And it was actually the strongest conservative showing since Brian Mulroney years. So that's over 30 years. Wow. You got to say that was a pretty darn good result. Uh, my simple point about him was he ran a great campaign, if only if it were 2024. But of course, it was 2025, and that 2024 campaign, just like Justin, and that was not working. It was so lame. I can't believe they did it. I've had my share of criticisms of that. However, coming back to Pierre Poilievre personally, he is an incredible, you know, uh, attacker, if you like. He is the prosecutor in court in question period. Boy, he can deliver those shots. I won't say they were punches, but they're kind of the dagger is in.
And that is the role of the
Yeah,
opposition.
exactly. To be fair, so he's doing what an opposition leader is supposed to do. He actually voted for Bill C-5, by the way, massive, huge legislation. He voted for it. The Conservatives voted for it, which is a very instrumental part of changing the economy to meet these challenges. So you got to give him credit for that. I will say this, that he can't really change who he is, and he can't really suddenly become, a cheerleader for Mark Carney. But I think that people were tired of just, you touched on it, needless partisanship, overly partisan. Try to speak for the nation, try to speak for people who are struggling. He did try to do that, but it always seemed to have a kind of a sneering negativity about the Liberals almost deliberately doing everything wrong. I just felt that it was over the top and a little tiresome after a while. So he's got to learn a fresh and new approach. He could rebuild. He's about 10 points behind. I'm not a pollster, but from what I've seen, he's got to regain about 10 points. And he'll get one more crack at it. There is a leadership review in January. And we'll see if there's any sign. What's the percentage he has to get? Well, I think if he's not getting 80%, then it's a sign that there's a significant percentage of the conservatives, active members of the party, who don't want him as leader. So he's got to do very, very well in that leadership review. And Doug Ford, just to help him out, what did he do? He held a progressive conservative uh, convention in Ontario the same weekend. So I'm not sure if that's good, bad, ugly, whatever, but nevertheless, it probably means that a lot of conservatives won't be going out to Alberta for that review, the leadership review of the federal conservative leaders. So these are interesting times for political habitués, political followers like me. This is very interesting times, and there's a lot at stake here. This is not games anymore, if it ever was. There's a lot at stake, and I think people need to pay a lot more attention. Hopefully, they will. And apparently, more people now are watching podcasts than they are actually just in social media or watching television or whatever, that they've become more and more podcast aficionados. And we hope to be part of that because we enjoy doing a podcast. It's only our second episode.
And if you would like to follow us or ask us a question, by all means, do so. And when we can, we will respond to that. We'll probably do another one of these Substacks next week. And if you send us a question, we're
Yeah.
happy to answer your
Yeah,
question.
right there on the Substack. So do sign up, subscribe to us. We'd love to hear from you. And we look forward to joining you next week. Until then, this is Communicate with Power. I'm Barry McLaughlin.
Laura Peck.
And we'll see you next time.
And thanks for watching and listening.